guys, so I'm about to head off and go on a demonstration in London which is against all the cuts that have been made that affect sort of the cultural sector, so like cuts to library services, museums, various other organisations that has been organised by Unison, which is a trade union here in the UK. But I have like 20 minutes spare before I have to leave, and there's a video I've been meaning to film for quite some time, so I thought I would take this opportunity to film it. And that is my 2 years living in London update. So as of the end of August this year, I have lived in London for 2 years. I moved to London 2 years ago, so it's been a little bit longer than that now. I think now, the beginning of November, end of October, is sort of my 2-year flat anniversary. I moved into this flat 2 years ago and I have remained in the same flat ever since I moved to London. And back when I first moved, I did a couple of little updates, like a 1-month update and a 3-month update, I think, or something like that. But obviously I've lived in London for like a substantial period of time now. Lots of things have changed, I have grown accustomed to different things, figured out what works for me in London, so I thought it might be fun to just chat a little bit about London and my experience moving here with you. So if you're not familiar, I am from Edinburgh in Scotland and I lived there for the first 24 years of my life. I went to university there, I did my masters there, like I never moved. So London was my first major move. It was moving to a new city and kind of a new country, but it's not like moving to a country where they speak a different language or I had to use a passport. So we'll just say I moved to a different city in the same country, just with slight cultural differences. You may also be aware, if you have been watching my channel for a while, that last year in 2017 I spent about 5 or 6 months back in Edinburgh, minus a couple of weekends which I came back to London because I was caring for my dad who was terminally ill with cancer. But I don't really want to talk about that in this video, but just for clarity, I was away for a few months in this 2 years back in Edinburgh. But back to London, which is the subject of this video. So when I first moved to London, I was already doing a part-time PhD in London, but had been studying remotely from Scotland for a while, but that was not something that was ever going to work long term for me. I always wanted to move closer to the university. I just needed to facilitate that by finding a part-time job that I could pay my rent with, which is high in London. So I started working at Pan Macmillan, which is a UK based publishing house. I was their creative producer for about 1 year and 4 months, and as of January this year I stopped working there. Loved that job. It was just time for me to move on. What I needed was something slightly more flexible than like a 4-day-a-week office job. I used to manage their YouTube channel, which is now actually managed by Emma over at Drinking by My Shelf, who is fantastic. So if you haven't checked out both the New Book Break or her channel, please do so. I would highly recommend both of them. But I felt very fortunate to get that job and I really enjoyed that job when I was doing it, but like I said, life changes, you move on. So I left that job, and I know some people have asked me, have been more curious about what I do for work these days, because I still work to pay my rent, as they say. And I actually do a variety of different things. I teach at the university. I've been teaching all this term, and I'm teaching a course next term, so I do get paid to lecture. I also recently took on a freelance role at the Pool, which is an online women's magazine, as their social media assistant. So basically I cover days where the social media manager is off sick or on holiday, so like I'm in and out of their office at various times, and I also just do like side projects now and then that are not like long-term things, but like pick up work here and there. So I guess I'm kind of freelance, although the lecturing doesn't feel very freelance, but I kind of make my living through like a variety of different things and piece them together, simply because that actually works best for me whilst I'm doing my PhD, because I like the flexibility. I like being able to say no to work or seek out more work if I need it. I like having the daytime to do studying here and there. I also like that lecturing is something that is close to my studies, because I'm obviously lecturing in ancient history and mythology, which is my PhD area. So all of these things are working for me, although I'm on a slightly tighter budget these days, but I found different ways to make that work. Now obviously London is incredibly expensive, however what I find is the most expensive about London is my rent and bills. Like, my money every month, more than half of it goes on my rent and my council tax and my bills, water, gas, electricity, internet. It all goes on that, more than half of what I have in a month. But in a way I don't mind so much because I work a lot from home and I like my flat. It's in a convenient area. Honestly, like, I wouldn't move. My flatmate and I took ages finding a flat. We were searching for a flat for months, and I'm kind of glad we didn't settle because we found somewhere so nice, we've not felt any need to move somewhere else. I mean, it's still a rented flat. It's not like incredibly well taken care of. We've had leaky roofs, various other like kind of problems with the building, which kind of wait to get seen to until the kind of the last minute, but I'm used to kind of living in rented property in that kind of situation. So I'm okay with it. I think it's really good for what we pay. So I really like our flat. It did take us ages to find, but I think it was worth it, and I'm not in any hurry to move at the moment. One of the things I have done though, I think that's changed, there are a few ways that I've kind of changed my lifestyle a little bit since moving to London that help save me money though. I think when I first moved to London I got the tube a lot. I think one, because of the novelty. I still really enjoy the tube. I think it's a lot of fun because I'm not, I guess, from a city where you have a tube. I've always liked trains, so it's just a kind of train and I really enjoy it. However, the tube is actually a lot more expensive than buses or walking. So when the weather is suitable, if something's going to take me an hour or less to walk to, then I walk. But I like walking, so like that's fine. I'm obviously capable of doing an hour walk and I enjoy it, so that works for me. But even if you're not, I would recommend getting buses. I only really get the tube now if I'm going somewhere that would take me like 3 hours to get to on the bus. Because the bus is like £1 cheaper than getting the tube. Plus, if you live in London you'll know this, but there's this thing called a hopper fare, which I think's really sensible, which is that if you change buses within the hour that you got on the original bus, then you don't pay any extra. Because obviously London's a huge place, so you do need to change buses a lot to get places. So you can change buses and it won't charge you anymore, so you just like pay your like 160 or whatever it is to like travel on a few buses quite a far distance. So I think I'm saving a lot of money being more of a bus and a walker. That's kind of one of the ways I've been saving money. But also things like, when you talk about London being really expensive, the supermarket's the same price. Like, if I go to Morrison's, it costs me the same to buy a carton of milk as it does in Edinburgh. Like, that kind of stuff's no more expensive. I have also, this year in particular, in 2018, made a real conscious effort to go and experience more of London, so go to more art galleries and museums and like do all of those lovely cultural things that you have access to in London. And there's so many fun free things to do in London. I mean, there's the National Gallery, there's the Tate Modern, there's the Tate Britain, there's the Natural History Museum, there's the British Museum. Like, you can spend so much of your time doing free fun things in London, which I've really appreciated. Obviously there's just the cost incurred by travel, depending on what that is. But I think I've managed to adjust quite well to like my new situation, and I'm making it work and still really enjoying living in London, even if a pint is extortionate when I go to the pub. I've obviously become a lot more accustomed to living in London. I feel a lot more at ease walking around London, getting the tubes. Like, I've gotten into the swing of it. I feel like a natural now. However, I still have these moments, and I'm really glad I still have these moments. Sometimes when I'm walking through a part of London, I'm like looking up at the buildings around me. Maybe I'm walking along the Thames, or it's kind of Christmas time and the area I'm in is all lit up and decorated, where I still kind of, my breath gets taken away a little bit. I think London is such an interesting, beautiful, exciting, busy city. And I wanted to live here for years before I moved here. So I still get these moments where I'm walking around London going, wow, I live in London, and that's really nice. But maybe that's the kind of person I am as well, because it's not to say living in Edinburgh, I didn't kind of still get those moments sometimes. When I go and visit Edinburgh to visit my mum, I still have moments where I'm walking around Edinburgh thinking, oh, Edinburgh's gorgeous. So I think like I'm somebody that appreciates their environment, but there's just no end of environments to appreciate in London. Like there's constantly new areas and new places to explore and walk and parks, and it's lovely. I also am very fortunate to have a lot of friends living in London, so like I don't feel lonely really ever. And I go back to Edinburgh regularly to visit my mum and other members of our family. I feel very, very fortunate in that situation. Like I think any video where I talk about living in London is going to be generally positive, because I don't really have anything to complain about living in London. I feel very fortunate to get to live here, and I really enjoy living here. I don't know if I will live here forever though. Like I said, rent is expensive, buying houses, all of that kind of stuff is even more expensive in London. It's like unbelievably expensive in terms of accommodation costs, shall we say. And like I said, I still live on a very tight budget. Like I can't even really conceive of buying a house in my future, but certainly not one in London. So I don't know, in the long run I can see myself moving back to Edinburgh, to be perfectly honest, but I don't resent that in any way. Like I'm enjoying my time in London now. It's not like Edinburgh's super cheap either. But I also imagine one day I'll want to be closer to my mum again. So I don't know how long I'll live in London, but I know I will definitely live here till at least when I finish my PhD, and probably a little bit beyond that. So I've still got 2 years left of my PhD. So I think I will live in London till at least 2021, but maybe longer, and I'm okay with that. I'm really enjoying it, and thankfully it is only about 4 hours and 20 minutes on the train from London to Edinburgh, which is not bad considering it can take you like just as long to get somewhere else in England, because it's a nice wee fast train. It does this, if you're not familiar, the train from Edinburgh to London is like a pivoting train, so it goes like this on the tracks, which makes it travel faster, and obviously it doesn't stop at that many stops. I said I liked trains. What is the other thing I always think of when I think of the contrast between London and Edinburgh? It's the weather. I'm Scottish. London's boiling. Especially in the summer. Like London summers are just kind of unbelievable to me how warm it can get in London, given that it is like not that far away from Edinburgh, yet it is like a good 10 degrees hotter here in summer. Like we do not get those like mega hot days that you get in London in Edinburgh. And sometimes I will admit, I miss the breeze. Like Edinburgh is a nice Scottish city, it's near the sea, it's breezy, and I like a breeze. I like a bit of wind in my hair and on my face. You don't get a lot of breeze or wind in London, but I did enjoy having the really warm summer, because I felt like I could take advantage of kind of summery clothes I don't usually get to wear in Scotland. Also, like I said, I'm about to go to a demonstration, and there are always these like big political things going on in London, and I also get the complaint about that, like a lot of stuff can be very London focused, although Edinburgh was somewhere where there was also a lot of like political activity, a lot of protests, a lot of rallies, a lot of like organising, but at the same time like I do feel like when these really big things happen, London is quite an exciting place to be there and participate in all of that, which is something that's important to me. Like I want to be able to be like really politically active, and I think being in London gives me access to that, although I'm still trying a little bit. Like I'm not doing as much as I would like to be doing, and I've realised since moving to London how much I really much relied on my mum in Edinburgh for like political activity, because like I don't know anyone more politically active than my mum. Like she's constantly at stuff, doing stuff, organising stuff, helping people. So I had like a real tendency to just tag along with her to things. So obviously it takes a lot more initiative to like get up by yourself and do stuff, and like find stuff to do and meet people that want to do those things as well. So like I've been slowly building up my political activism in London. I'm enjoying studying for my PhD. I'm at a point right now where I've got an impending deadline, so I'm feeling a little bit stressed, but overall I'm enjoying my PhD, and I will be doing a video updating you on that, but in particular very soon, as soon as this deadline has passed. But obviously that was a big part of why I moved to London, was to facilitate doing my PhD, and moving to London has meant that I can participate in so much more at university. Obviously it means I can teach, I can attend like extra special lectures. I mean, there's not a lot of compulsory stuff I need to do as a PhD student, but it's nice to be able to go to those extra things. It also means I have access to libraries I wouldn't have had access to in Edinburgh. So again, I just feel incredibly fortunate to be here. I don't have a lot of complaints, like nothing that would outweigh all of the things I'm grateful for in this city. So basically this is my 2-year living in London update, which equals Jean gushing about London after living here for 2 years. My opinion has not changed. I was excited to move here. It's lived up to all of my expectations. What can I say? I know it's not the same for everybody, but like this is just a personal video of my experience. But if you do have any particular questions about the cost of living in London, different areas of London, just things to do in London, or Edinburgh, you can ask me about Edinburgh, just leave them in the comments of this video. It's difficult to know what is the most important thing to cover in this for your benefit, so I've just gone for the what's on my mind, and if you have any actual questions then I will happily try and answer them in the comments down below. But if you have visited or live in London, please do let me know your favourite things to do here, because I'm always looking for new places to visit and check out and ways to spend my time, so let me know. But until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!